If you're anything like me, you probably like zombies quite a lot, and pretty much the best example of zombies in fiction right now is the massively successful television program The Walking Dead. And it's been a while since the show was on the air, so I thought I would take a couple minutes and catch you up on everything that has happened up until now. It goes without saying there are going to be some spoilers. If you haven't seen the show, let's catch up. Let's begin. This is everything you need to know about The Walking Dead in 5 minutes. The Walking Dead is a show about people trying to survive a zombie apocalypse. The main character is Rick Grimes. He is a sheriff's deputy. His best friend is Shane. He has a wife. Her name's Lori, and a young son who is named Carl. Rick gets shot in the line of duty, goes into a coma, and wakes up to a world overrun by zombies. As you can imagine, he's pretty freaked out. Makes his way back to his house, but finds that Lori and Carl are gone. After meeting up with another survivor, he decides to go to Atlanta, where he's told that it's safe. He goes to Atlanta. It is not safe. Rick is nearly killed by a huge horde of zombies, or walkers as they call them in the show, but he is saved by a quick-witted survivor named Glenn. Glenn takes Rick back to his camp outside of town, where they meet a bunch of other survivors, including Shane, who has saved Lori and Carl from certain death. What luck! Except everyone assumed that Rick was dead, and so Shane and Lori started, knocking boots. Knocking boots. That's not a thing. They were having sex. Rick assumes leadership of the group and decides they should go back into Atlanta to get some weapons that he left there, as well as a survivor that was left behind, who is the older brother of Daryl. More on Daryl later. You'll like him, I promise. Shane and Rick disagree about whether to do this. They disagree about pretty much everything. They go back to Atlanta and retrieve the guns, but while they're gone, a group of walkers overruns their camp and kills a bunch of people. It is time to leave. Rick decides that the group should try to get to the CDC in Atlanta, where they might have a cure for this worldwide infection. Shane disagrees. He thinks they should go to a nearby military base. Again with the, you're getting this. Once they get to the CDC, they find that the one lone scientist still working there has no leads and is pretty much just a downer. Things seem like they could be nice there until Shane tries to rekindle his romance with Lori and the scientist decides to blow the place up. The group is just barely able to escape. The scientist whispers a secret in Rick's ear. The group gets stopped on a highway outside of town, blocked off with cars, and a huge horde of zombies migrates through. They all hide under the cars, but one of the young survivors, Sophia, runs off into the woods and gets separated from everyone else. Rick blames himself. Once the walkers are gone, they begin to search the surrounding woods for Sophia, and in the process, Carl gets shot by a local farmer. They rush the wounded Carl to the nearby farmhouse, which belongs to Herschel, who is a veterinarian but acts as the group's de facto doctor. As Carl is recovering, the rest of the survivors set up camp on Herschel's farm. Shane and the man who accidentally shot Carl set off to a nearby refugee center to get some important medical equipment to save Carl's life, but they run into a lot of zombies, and Shane, who is slowly becoming evil Shane, decides to shoot the man in the leg and leave him there as zombie bait so Shane can get away. They search the woods for Sophia every day, and it turns out that Daryl is a pretty awesome tracker and is just generally really cool. In soap opera news, Lori finds out that she is pregnant and reveals her past relationship with Shane to her husband Rick. Glenn, who is my favorite character, starts up a relationship with Herschel's daughter Maggie, and she reveals to him that their barn is full of walkers, some of whom used to be Herschel's family. He thinks that he can still cure them. Rick says this is Herschel's farm, we should respect his wishes and leave the barn alone. Shane, can you guess it, disagrees and decides to open the barn doors and put a bullet in the head of everything that comes out of it. The last thing to walk out of that barn is poor zombified Sophia. Rick puts a bullet right between her eyes. Man, I forgot how grim this show is. You've got the grim, Harry. Herschel is pretty upset and heads into town to what's left of the local bar to drink himself into a stupor. When Rick goes to find him, they run into some other survivors who we don't know and seem like pretty bad guys, and they all get into a gunfight. Rick kills them and makes sure to put a bullet in each of their heads. That's weird. We have learned these walkers love the sound of gunfire, so when all this Old West nonsense starts, a bunch of them show up. One of the bad survivors is injured, and Rick can't just leave him there, so they take him back to the farmhouse. Shane thinks that they should kill him immediately. Rick disagrees. After some hemming and hawing, Shane decides to take matters into his own hands and kill the captive. While he's at it, Shane decides that he is done disagreeing with Rick. He fools Rick into coming out into the woods with him and then tries to kill him, but Rick sees through his plan and he kills Shane first. Before you can say, holy best friend aside, Batman, Shane reanimates as a walker and starts coming at Rick, presumably for his brains. Carl, who up to this point has done nothing right, sees the whole thing and saves his dad's life by shooting evil Shane between the eyes. Great job, Carl. Wait, what's that one thing we all knew? Oh yeah, walkers are attracted to the sound of gunfire? Nice one, Carl. So many walkers show up, maybe all of the walkers. So many walkers. After a valiant struggle, the survivors realize they can't outlast this many walkers and abandon the farm. In all of the confusion, Andrea gets left behind, but she has a bunch of guns and makes a run for it herself. She almost dies in the woods, but then is saved by a hooded woman who has 2 walkers on chains hooked up to her. I'm guessing we're gonna see more of her soon. The rest of the group is able to meet back up on the highway, and there's a lot of infighting and questioning of Rick's leadership. Rick finally reveals a secret that he has known since the CDC, which is that they are all infected with the virus. Meaning that if somebody dies, they're going to come back as a walker, even if they weren't bitten. He tells the group that he just killed his best friend to protect them, so they can stay or leave, but this is no longer a democracy. This is a Ricktatorship. Do you like that? Ricktatorship? The thing we see is an enormous prison looming in the distance. That is The Walking Dead so far. I'm sure I left some stuff out. Go ahead and leave it in the comments. If you have seen the show, please let me know what your favorite parts of it are. If you haven't, I hope that I've helped catch you up for the season premiere, which is this week, but you should definitely go back and watch it. It is well worth your time. Well, I'm gonna go have some nightmares about a zombie apocalypse. I hope that you are having a swell day, and until I see you next, aim for the head.